Well, hello everybody. It's Jeff and Linnea, episode 2 about us and our journey and love and life and relationships. But before, wait. We are not sponsored by this yet. But
Gold Peak.
Gold Peak, if you hear us, send it. I don't drink it because I have to watch my sugar or my sugars, depending who you're talking to. We'll take that. Toccoa, they make great tacos in Sacramento. K-Swiss, Lexus. I'm just putting this up right.
Anyways.
Anybody who has homes for sale that you want us to try? What else? Southwest, the old Southwest when you did priority groups.
You know, at the rated concerts, Ticketmaster.
Yo, you know what? How about just sponsor the Ticketmaster fees?
No, they gotta get the whole shebang.
Yeah. The daughter would love that too. So,
yeah.
What has been your longest relationship? The laugh is crazy.
13 years.
Yeah.
What about you?
Besides with the Lord, who I've been rocking with since like 5th grade, 9.5 years.
9.5 years.
Yeah, it kind of ended abruptly.
Yes. So we've both had some long-term relationships. And
if you add it up, I have a second long-term relationship. Full transparency, I've been married twice. And if you add those up, we're probably about the same amount of time in relationships. For people that don't know me, I am a widower and a divorcee. And it took a lot to actually be able to say that out loud. But I was married for almost 7 years, and she got sick, and literally within 7 days, she passed. And then I got remarried, and unfortunately, things didn't go the way that they probably should have, and then it ended. And ever since 2022, I've been single. And then, literally, we'll get to this in a second, but I got to a point where I was like, I'm ready to do try this love thing again. We talked about it in the last episode. Mm-hmm. But I'll do my summary of what how I describe myself and why I probably don't get dates until I met her. I'll explain. So, do you want to try it back? Yeah.
Okay, so longest relationship, 13 years. I think the time before that was probably maybe like 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like high school. Right. Like it wasn't before I was like an actual adult.
I did. I had a year and a half in college, and I had my Ross and Rachel moment afterwards. Like, will this not? And it was basically holding on to an idea of a relationship as opposed to that, and then ended up realizing like we both went different directions, and it worked out great. So,
I think for me, it was kind of like the thing of like I wasn't. Well, I guess we can kind of get into this about how did you know that you were ready for a relationship after like suffering the loss and getting divorced?
Yeah. Well, first I would say that it took me a while because if anybody's been through divorce, death, any of those things, and we've talked about this a lot, just being in a mental state to be like, am I willing to put myself back out there to be loved, to be hurt? And unfortunately, sometimes what frames the potential relationships, it's there's these great things that could happen, but there's also in the back of your mind, if you don't do the work, is, well, what if they pass away? What if it ends? What if it doesn't work out? And then you're like, all right, never mind, I'm good. And then you either do like maybe you're out there, you're dating, maybe you're not doing anything. I was just focused on life and my kids. And I don't think but you have to do the work to figure out, am I actually ready for this? Because that was one of our very first conversations. She asked, do you have another talking stage? And basically, am I single? And yes to both. But for me, I had a moment where I realized I didn't want to do life alone, but I also was like, I don't have to get married. I just what's actually out there for me. And then I listened to my students talk about dating and my friends talk about dating. They're single, and I was like, "Oh,
it was horrific.
This sounds awful. These apps are trash.
Seriously.
Unless you're going to sponsor the podcast, then you're amazing. You do a great thing. You bring people love." And then when we talked, and you told me about some of your experiences, I was like, "Oh, I'm right. Yeah. I'm 100% right."
Yeah.
And shout out to women who date, because you deal with way more than any man will ever experienced, in the sense of like the sheer utter nonsense. And I'm saying that as somebody who's dealt with some nonsense.
But I ain't gonna lie though, it's the woman out there.
Oh no, we deal with some craziness, but there's other layers that you have to deal with. I think we're talking one time about like you told, I think at one day it's like where we're going to eat, and like the location, like, and I was like, yeah, I've never considered those things because, but my daughter and I talked about you have to do those too because I'm a big dude. I mean, I guess you could abduct me.
Goodbye.
But the idea, like, but yeah, that's a whole other part of like dating. So I guess we were talking about the idea of like, well, actually, how did you know, or did you know?
So I think a lot of people looked at my past relationships and things like that, and I think people, again, you can't tell everything that someone is going through on social media. People let you in with how much they want you to know, how much they want you to see, all those different things. So for me, I feel like a year ago, I was probably already in the space to be like, okay, like I'm ready to go ahead and start thinking about what I want and be open to talking to different people. Because I think for me, for example, because I was in such a long relationship, I hadn't dated in my adult life.
Wow. Yeah,
like it wasn't, I haven't dated in my adult life. So I didn't know, okay, so people talking about the dating sites. And I'm like, bro, I'm not paying for love. Like, not doing it. Facebook, I tried that because it was free. But even then, it was just like...
There's a reason it's free.
It was like, what? It was like, who are you? Instantly you get to weed people out because I'm not here for you're not for women's rights, or you didn't vote for certain people. Nope, we ain't got nothing to talk about at all.
And I mean, and you talked about this, and I've heard from other people that the other part is like I'm pretending that I want to date you, but really what I want is a hookup. And also shout out to some of the dating sites. I have a few friends who that's how they met their wives.
And it works for people.
And it works fantastic. I've also known people that have had horror stories. The best one is one of my friends was from college. A woman was scrolling through, and one of our friends popped up, and she dropped her phone, and she's like, no, absolutely not. But to the point, like I was open to the idea dating. I think I said last time that my daughter was like, hey, Dad, I want to make you do your dating profile, and I was down for it. She was serious. Her and her cousin were down to like really put me out there.
Yeah.
And we never got that going, but I was open to the idea because just I didn't want to do life alone. Yeah. But I also wasn't going to put a ton of effort into it, not for any other reason than like I had a lot going on. I'll explore. Go ahead. I was going to explain who I am.
Who are you?
All right, so in our first conversation, I didn't say it the way I'm going to say it, but I basically put everything out there. I'm not a young man, but I'm not old. I'm officially in the middle. They call that middle age, I think. I am a divorcee, widower. I have 3 children from 2 relationships. I have 2 stepchildren that I raised, and I have 1 biological child. I actually have 2 other, like, I guess they're not bonus kids, but they're my older son's best friends who literally lived with me, and I helped kind of like get them through young adult life. Extended. Then I have my daughter. They have an aunt who's basically her sister best friend, and I kind of play the uncle role, plus all the students. Then that being told, I do work that doesn't usually get compensated like you should, and I do a lot. I work hard, and I spend a lot of time doing my work. Oh, by the way, also my mom lives with me, which has been, it has been great for all of us because she gets to see the grandkids. I get to be with my mom. But when you say this to somebody dating, you're like, hey, 2 major relationships, both questioning. The endings were rough. Children, a little complicated, and if you want to hang out, my mom might be there as well. Yeah. And you put that all together, and then you're like, so what are you doing Saturday? I mean, are we doing this? Are we hanging out? And I did tell her up front. She knew about all these things, and she still wanted to talk to me.
Because then I said...
Right, I was like, I put it out there, and I'm like, here we go.
And then I said, well, let's see, I am divorced. I suffered a pregnancy loss. I got arrested when I was younger.
You did not point that out until later.
Oh,
but it did.
But it did come up.
Yeah. She allegedly was arrested when she was 13.
I was. It is what it is.
Shout out to Alameda County.
And what else? And I also lived with my mom at the time. I don't know if we talked about that before, but we'll talk about it. And what else? And then I recently became a single parent because my child's father went back to another state.
Right.
So I had all these things with myself, and I'm just like, all right, so you want to talk to me too?
Right.
Like,
and it just had an epiphany. Like I had the epiphany like it was like December, November, where I'm like, hey, I want to be out here. And then you had a moment with where you like clarity. And I've said this before, and I say this before. I believe in God and pathways and how things work. Like, but I believe that we had so many things that like it made sense. Like our journeys they weren't the same, but it just made sense. So when we talked, we have shared experiences that kind of equalize things and make it that.
And we from the Bay.
Yeah, shout out to the Bay. Shout out to the 510 and the 415.
Yeah, from the Bay. We went to college. We got our masters. We're both Greek. Yeah. We both worked in education. Yeah. So we had a lot of.
And also like when we really got into it, our upbringings were interesting because we both like I was raised by a mom, but I had a stepfather who financed the operation, but he was definitely emotionally distant, and there was some verbal and emotional abuse and some physical stuff. So like a lot of times I kind of view that I was raised by my mom with this other guy in the house, but my mom raised me. She was like she can kind of get she gets the single parent with the asterisk next to it because she was my primary in everything. She was the one I talked to. She did everything, and then you were raised by
and I was raised by my mom. Yeah.
And shout out to our moms. They are they made it happen when and as single parents like.
Yeah, and sending me all the way across the U.S. to go to school, not cheap.
No, my mom, I didn't realize till later. I think my mom was doing things like give me the last money she had, and she would never tell me that. I never went without. I wasn't. I was definitely that kid that I got like 2 pairs of Jordans in my life, but it was because I probably bothered her to the point she gave. But we did it. So we both come from a space where our moms were that person. My dad died when I was 11, and he was my best friend at the time, and that had a profound effect. And shout out to the 80s where they're like, oh, your parent died. You're like, but you look fine, so you should just keep going to school and you'll be fine. And those things. But realizing that I didn't have that. So when I learned how to be a parent and truly a dad in my first marriage, where I was a stepfather and a parent and growing. And I think you've talked about like learning to be a mom. It's like you can have all the people around you, but when you finally are in that space, it's like, oh my.
Because no two kids are the same. Like someone's kid, you may have been a certain way when you were a kid, but that doesn't mean that every single thing that you did, your child is going to do. So it's different. Like the way that things were run back in early 2000s or 1990 or the kids call it the 1900s.
Yeah. Disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
Last century.
Right. Like disrespectful. But things are different. Even the prices of things are different. Like, so so you can't go based off of all of that.
How did I know that I was ready? Besides like making the decision, I wouldn't know until I was in the situation. That's always been my experience in life. I can tell myself, hey, I'm ready for this, but I don't know. Like quick background, like I didn't realize that I wanted to do certain things in education until I was put in a position where I had to. Mm-hmm. I was offered a teaching job, and they're like, "You're going to teach math," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm not teaching math." And they're like, "All right, we'll see you on Tuesday." And then I taught math, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I was ready to be a teacher, but I wasn't really ready until I'm actually in the situation doing it. Mm-hmm. So when I met you, I was open to it, but putting zero effort into it and no time into it. But when I met you, I also go with my gut instinct. My gut feeling was, this is good. There's something good about this. Not that it was good. I didn't know if it was good or not. I just knew it felt right and it felt good. Yeah. So I'm going to put myself out there. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was ready to put myself out there. I didn't know if we were going to talk for 1 or 2 nights or if this was going to be a month or a life.
I'm going to let y'all in on what he told me, right?
Yeah.
You told me that it was something about our conversation that, like, you let your guard down.
Yeah.
You were saying that?
Yeah, you mean the first conversation? The first conversation? Mm-hmm. Yeah, our first conversation, it was interesting because it went, like, we've talked about it a little bit, but it went from, like, real simple, like, hey, there's this committee you want to be on, I need you to be on, to we talked about life and death and marriage and divorce and parenting and all these things and some of the experiences we had. And I was like, I'm naturally doing this. So I was like, if nothing else, I want to have more of these conversations.
Yeah.
And I've never had a hard time talking to her. And if nothing else, I'm like, I want to see what's here. To me, that was the most natural version of I'm ready for this. I wasn't ready for a relationship because I initially was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
But I did. Because the joke with us is after the second time we had a conversation,
I was already his girlfriend.
I was sold. But I would say that, I knew early on, like, this is good. This is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it doesn't always work out. You have to figure stuff out. But every time we tried to figure something out, I have a question. I was like, all right. And she'll just ask. She'll be like, boom, here's the question. I'm in my mind milling it over. And I'm like, hey, I got to ask you a question. And then I preface it with something, and then I put it out there. And she's like, oh. And the answer always was in line with what I wanted and what worked for us.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think for me, so I had a conversation with my therapist, and she had told me, because I didn't know either, like, if I wanted to be in like an actual relationship again, but I knew that I wanted to start talking to people, and I had already like started dating a little bit. Well, I wouldn't even say dating. It was just talking. But my therapist was like, stop treating yourself like a booty call. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. You ain't got to hit me like that.
Right.
Like, hold up.
Like, how much truth are you getting about?
Yeah. And so when she said that, I was like, okay. And she was like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you need to have clarity on like what exactly you want in a relationship and what do you want out of a person. And so she was like, for your homework, you need to write down your list. And I'm like, all right, okay. I ain't gonna lie. I waited until I think the day of or day before for me to write my list down because I was like, I really don't know. And so,
was it hard to write?
It was hard to be detailed because she wanted me to write down like every single thing from like height to like location, like all those different things. And then at this time, me and him had like just started talking. And so I like write out the list and I'm like, besides two things, like, this is... Oh,
and you shared it with
This is him.
She shared
and
it.
I shared it with him, too.
And I was like, okay. And we got the text, like the message where like someone shared and you're like, okay, I asked the question. Do I really want the answer?
Yeah.
Do I want to see this? And then as I'm going through it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And it was just
it was
like...
scary.
It was, and then when I did mine, I think we talked about this before, but like when I did mine, I heard about this is a good idea. Also, we encourage anybody, single or not, put that out there. And be very specific, and then I would also add in that list, there's the things that are non-negotiable, the things that you hope for, and the things you're like, well, it'd be cool if it was there.
Your values. Yeah. Like, what are the things that you absolutely needed? And like, some of my things that I put was communication. Like, communication was number one for me because I'm a very open and transparent person, and I'm vulnerable, which means that like once I gain trust with someone or whatever the case may be, I'm an open book. Okay. Yeah. That's just me. But I also needed to be with someone who was that same way, who was also not afraid to have any conversation or be able, or not afraid to ask me questions, or if they're feeling a certain way or whatever, that they're not afraid to like come and talk to me. And then initiative was another big one. Like, I don't want to teach you how to treat me. Like, of course, there's some things like, oh no, I don't like those types of flowers, or I don't like this type of food, that type of stuff. Yeah. But me telling you that you should be taking me out on a date, or you should be opening my door, or you should be, when it gets to that point, taking my trash out. Thank you for doing that all the time. But yeah, so it's like being intentional, even with the conversations. Like, I'll give another example, right? The other day I was cold and I was like, I'm cold. And then I went to the bathroom, used the bathroom, whatever. I came back out and he set my blanket down where I was sitting at. And I was like, ah.
Oh yeah. You took a shower because and you came.
And I was like, oh. But it's just like little stuff like that. Another one, when we first got into our relationship, I had told him that I didn't like flowers. And I later found out that I said I didn't like flowers because I didn't receive them often. So for Valentine's Day, he created this.
Oh, I created it. I put it together.
He put it together. But he made this Lego flowers. Like, intentional. Yeah. Okay? Thoughtful.
So the part of the Legos was, I was like, oh gosh, she that week, I don't even remember, you said something about seeing the Legos and you're like, oh, that's a lot. Like, there's a lot to do. And if you know where, like, it's just very like it's just lots to do. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, and at the time I had the box sitting in my room, like I was going to put it together. Like I already had the box, and I put it together. And this is also the moment I realized, you like this woman, excuse me. And it was nothing. This is random. At the same time, A Different World had come on Netflix. So I'm like, all right. So I put it on, and I would spend literally a couple hours each night for a couple nights putting it together. And then when I gave it to her, I was like, I hope she doesn't think I'm just a nerd and a dork, which I'm a bit of both. But she was her response was, it was kind of quiet. And it wasn't until, as we talked about it and later on, that she was like, that's like, no one's ever done something like that. And then I've given you flowers, since then, but she also, there's flowers that are like, they're fake flowers. They look amazing, but I do that because, what I say, like my love for her, those flowers don't die. You can clip that. See, this is what she gets to deal with. I mean, I'm sorry, experience. You know what? I'm gonna stop.
Anywho.
But
yeah, so like that's.
So you were talking about intention.
Well, yeah, so communication, intention, and just all that stuff. But I feel like, I don't know, when we started talking, I felt it was one of those that you see on social media where they're like, oh, in 6 months, you fell in love and got married to somebody or you whatever. And it was like, oh, okay, we get it. Right. We get it.
Yeah. I mean, the joke that not the joke, but the way I've always described is like, we had our first conversation in January 15th, and we've never stopped talking since then. We had our first conversation, my first actually text and thing, but we've talked every day since the 14th of January. And there's never been a day that we haven't talked. There's been days, of course, we said this before, we haven't seen each other. Yeah. But we've talked about, I mean, we're talking tears and the whole deal, and the most vulnerable of moments where you're like, this is my soul out here. Yeah. And please don't, please handle it with care, to ridiculousness that is part of a relationship, and laughter, and also the times where we're just near each other. And that's another part of that communication, is understanding. Sometimes silence just works. You're just in each other's presence, and that's how it is.
So I want to bring this up because y'all go think we crazy.
What?
But when we ended up having our first kiss.
Oh.
Okay.
I've never told you about this story. So
we had to plan our first kiss. Okay. First of all, again, so I was living 45 minutes away at the time. So he lived the other direction. I lived the other direction. Okay. And so there's no way for us to just always, meet up with each other. We worked at the same location. So we're not just on campus, lovey-dovey, kissing, holding hands, all that type of stuff. We're not doing that. We're not doing that where we work, okay? So we're like, all right, we got to meet up real early in the morning and meet at a neutral location where we can go and have our first kiss.
I remember that. I remember that, but I forgot that I had to figure out where.
Yeah, we had to figure out where,
I chose a Buca de Beppo parking lot that had closed, but I knew it was close up to campus that we could get there. There was parking. No one's going to be there. Yeah. I also was joking that this is of course where people are going to drive by and see me and be like, hey, I saw the guy from the campus with his new friend. But it's also. We put it in our calendar.
We put it in our calendars, right?
We have a couple things that we had to look up. When was that? The exact date, and time and things. I looked up I was getting when we first had the conversation. I was getting nachos, and I went into DoorDash to figure out what it was. Yeah. Details matter.
Details.
And shout out to Toccoa. Don't forget to sponsor us. And go Pig.
But no, it's really, our whole relationship has been about intention. If you really want to invest your time in a person, we had got, so I have never had a babysitter for my son besides, and I'm not going to say my mom is not a babysitter. That's his grandmother, but she's always watched him. And so when it's time for me to get off of work, I get my child. Like, I'm not I don't take advantage of the fact that I have someone who watches my son free of charge, that type of thing. And so I try to be very intentional about when we have our dates and when we meet up. So the first couple months, we were just like meeting up for coffee. We were going to lunch. Like, those were the types of interactions that we had to have with each other. And then occasionally I'm like, okay, mom, like, can you watch my son? That type of thing. But everything has been very intentional, planned out, all that type of stuff, because we wanted to make sure that the time we spend together, we actually get something out of us being together. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people put a little too much on initiative. Like, they're like you hear the word and it's like, take charge or take initiative. You don't have to. I mean, look, I would encourage anybody to plan a trip and plan an event and those kind of things. But the things like this are like, leverage, like I said, leverage the things that you're going to do. You need to eat. Maybe you need to exercise, like walk. Maybe,
we walked a lot.
You need, like, for people it's movies, or it's like, I got to go shopping. Shout out to like Target dates and Safeway. Excuse me. I was like, but it's, I think one of the guys on the internet always talks about, like, that's the way to do it. But also just keeping in mind, what would they like about this? And then what is something specific that this person will definitely like want to do in this space? So for example, if it's coffee, it's like, I'm a coffee drinker. Like, I'll drink like hardcore. Like, I'll go to like the small independent places, but I know she wants coffee with flavor and those things. So I'm going to make sure that it's a place that has those things. Or, it's a certain type of food or whatever. It's just, to me, it's not that hard. And also, honestly, Google, ChatGPT, Pinterest, they all have ideas in in Instagram, where you can just go out there and just like put in a thing and that, give you maybe you have the beginning of an idea and it'll help you.
Yeah.
I mean, look, let's be real. You can go to chat and be like, I got $50 this date, and maybe it'll be like, hey, there's this event going on.
Yeah.
And it sounds like people are like, oh, that's a cheat code. Well, yeah, it's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But it's, if you care about this person, you will put time and energy into making sure that you do it right.
Yeah.
And it's also this doesn't just relate, like, this is kind of like a loving relationship. It can also be for like your parents, your friends, your children.
Yeah, because we on a budget around here.
Right. Yeah.
Ain't got no toys.
No, I won't go to the details. But
yeah, it's.
We've done the picnic in the place.
He surprised me with a picnic inside. Yep. We've been axe throwing. Random axe raging. Rage room, all that good stuff. We've done golf. We took a trip to Vegas. Like, we've done a lot in this short span of us being together. But I also think too, a lot of people get caught up on the whole, like, are you healed enough to be in a relationship? And I am so tired of hearing that, because you can only move forward when you feel that. Because honestly, going back to the last video, right, is where you could feel like you're ready to be in a relationship, but you're still unlearning things
100%.
from your past relationship, and you probably don't even know you're dealing with that stuff until that right person, or until someone comes along in general, and you're like, oh wait, okay, maybe I need to check myself that, or figure out what is causing me not to like this, or talk it out with that person. So when people first found out that I was divorced, and then to their timeline, I'm automatically in this relationship, and they're like, are you healed yet? Are you ready to be in a relationship? You're moving fast. You don't know my timeline, boo. You don't know what's happening over here, and that's how I like it.
Right.
That's how I like it. Okay.
But the healed question is always an issue, because the answer I probably say is no. Because healing, I guess you don't really know. I've been in situations with you and just in life where I'm like, I'm good, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Yeah.
I mean, like with grief. Anybody's experienced grief, you're like, oh, it's been X amount of years, and then you're like, you're somewhere and something happens, and you're like, oh, it's still like it's part of who a part of like who you are.
Right.
Just may look or feel different.
Yeah.
Like with I always think that you don't really know how healed you are until you're in situations.
Yeah.
And the other part is if you're with the right person, you can say, I'm still working on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean the other person's like, you know what? Good. I'm glad you acted that way. It's more of a,
let's figure out.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. And please, and this is a cliche, but you got to make sure that you're talking about the issue, and not going after the person. Mm-hmm. But of course, I learned that I don't think I was completely healed. But what we both realized was we carried some PTSD with us, we carried some stuff with us. I don't want to say PTSD, but we carried some stuff with us that we didn't realize was still so not part of who we are, but so really ingrained there. So when things happen, we're like, oh gosh, this has nothing to do with it has to do with you, but it's more of I didn't realize that this was I was still dealing with this.
Well, I would say this though. Sometimes it's not even massive things or major things. So even opening the door, right? I'm just so used to just not, I just open the door myself. And he's like, you could wait 3 seconds for me to come around and open the door.
I just said that recently.
I'm like, whatever. Or just even he was getting ready to plug up my charger, for example. And I was like, oh, I got it. He was like, I got this. Chill out. Sit down. And I'm like, all right, strong, independent Black woman. My bad.
There's times where she was going to go do something, or I'm going to do it for her. So I can do that. My response is, oh, I know. And I do it. And she gives me the response. It's usually an eye roll, but it's part of being interdependent. It's being okay, I'll let this person do this for me. And it's not even you're allowing it, but you're it's okay, I'm okay with this happening. And because deep down inside, what we both have realized is we like that. She'll cook for me. And every time I'm like, thank you so much, and it was really good. And she's like, oh, okay, no problem.
I like you.
And to me, it's a big deal because besides when my mom at times when she's living with us, she feeds me. She'll feed me and the kids. But otherwise, I'm on my own out there foraging for food. But it's on me. I don't have someone who's making things. And also, one thing I learned that one of her expressions of love is cooking for you or making that for you.
I can't stand cooking, but I'll cook for him and Kaden.
Raw chicken, she's absolutely not, but she does it. But it's also to me, it's such an it's not really not really intimate, but it can be. There's an intimacy that's in it because it's so personal that you're making this for this person and you're making sure with me, there's certain things I can't eat. And she's she always makes sure that it's gonna work. And on the other side, when I get her, when I'm thinking, sometimes just pick stuff up and drop it off. I would say
cookies.
I would say
McDonald's.
Yeah,
banana
cookies.
cream pie.
Yeah.
Nations.
Right. Shout out to Nations. Sponsors. Anyway, what was the other one?
Which one?
Well, let me just talk about a time where we've shown up for each other where it meant a lot, and I was.
Oh, do I have a time?
Well, I know you. I mean, she has a bunch of them. No, but.
Okay.
No, but there's a couple that always stand out. Go ahead.
I know for me, when we do have a lot, but I think one of the main ones is, oops, sorry y'all, shift the camera. One of the main ones for me was I was having a really rough day at work, really rough day. And I think I had to start crying at one point, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get myself together because I gotta go back to my desk and keep being Superwoman. And I didn't know he was on his way to my desk. I didn't know that. Right. And he just showed up and gave me the best bear hug ever. No words, no anything. He just put his stuff down and just gave me a hug. And I was like, I needed this. Thank you for hearing in my voice that I was not okay. And you just took the opportunity to just come and you stopped everything in that moment and just came to comfort me. So, yeah, that is my number one thing.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't be crying.
I'm not crying. My eyes are, I might cry. And okay. I mean, I remember that happened because I had a meeting. Yeah. And it was a meeting that me and another person were in. And I was like, hey, just tell them to be late. Yeah. And that's where I realized, if I'm in that space, I was like, what's most important in this moment is her well-being. And if I get in trouble over it, I can handle that. For me, it was... I was telling her about. We got to the point where I was talking about some things about my late wife, and some experience I had in the past where it just wasn't handled the way that I'd hoped it'd been handled. And I was explaining it, and she just paused, and she was like, well, first she was getting a little upset because the way it was handled. She was like, absolutely not. But what she said to me was,
if you know, you know.
Right. Yes.
Sorry.
But what she said to me was, I gotta make sure I say it right and not get emotional. Well, you're not supposed to be here, like doing this. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're not supposed to be 50 years old, dating, trying to figure out what's next. That was supposed to be forever. And it floored me. I started crying. I started tearing up, and I think it was via text. And the only thing, and I'm a man of, I will just talk, and I usually have a lot to say. And all I said was, you get it. And in that moment, that's the moment when love was like, I'm right here. And welcome, here we go. To the point, like, that's the moment when I realized not only was I was already ready for a relationship, but it was like, no, I'm fully embracing what this is, what this relationship can be, what it is right now, what it can be. And it was just a moment that I've never had with somebody where I wasn't feeding it. I wasn't like fishing for anything. I was just talking and sharing, and you were just like, it was so like you spoke to my soul, to my heart, in the most intimate, personal way where you got it. And in both situations that we've explained, it was never asked. It was just, that's how we did it because intimate to what we also realized is that's what love in action looks like. It's that the right thing is done or said or expressed in those moments. And I think that's the, and to the larger question we're saying, like, how'd you know? I was like, I didn't know it. I didn't know until I knew. Yeah. Like I was like, I started realizing like, I started my day by texting her or calling her. I ended my day texting her, calling her. She'd fall asleep sometimes, like intentionally, like I'm gonna, like we, to the point where she was like, I have to go to sleep.
It felt like old school sometimes where you could like, I'm gonna fall asleep on the phone and you can listen to me breathe.
Right. Real thing. Or like she would get so tired that she would like, I would just like, oh my gosh. Okay. So when we would talk and she gets tired, like up until it's very interesting. It took me a while to really realize what happens. What happens is like we're talking, let's say for an hour and 15 minutes. That hour and like 5 minutes, we're going back and forth. Then all of a sudden, she'll slow down a little bit, and then there's these gaps, and she's getting tired. It makes sense, right? And it's not like she's really falling asleep, but she's trying to stay awake, and she would try to push herself. One time in this, she just started saying fraternity and sorority names. Just out of, it's like, it was a pause, it was quiet, she's like, fraternity name. Fraternity name. And I'm like, huh? And she paused, she's like, what? And then she kind of woke up out of it, and I told her later. And one of the biggest laughs we had at that point.
I was like, what in the world? Like, what was we talking about? Like, what is happening? And we're both, like I said, fraternity, sorority, so it kind of makes sense.
But it was it's funny because, like, it made sense to the relationship. Yeah. Because it was so, the comfort. Also, what we also realized, you see on Instagram, and it's like when you're around somebody that's really, like you're really in tune with, and you feel safe, you can get tired quickly. Like you go into this like peaceful space and you fall asleep. So like sometimes on the phone, she'd had a long day and we've been texting, and then we get on the phone and like within like 15 minutes, she's like, oh, I'm really tired. I didn't realize it till recently. She went to go to sleep and I was up. I was like, I'm about to, I don't know, watch something on my phone or something. And I sat down, and then in like 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm tired.
You sat down next to me?
Yeah, I think I sat down like, I was going to put my AirPods in and do something. And I was like, well, I'm going to sleep. But, oh no, the falling asleep part is always like.
I know.
But everybody has that, like where you're just like, it's something where you're like, you don't know it, but it's something unique, but at the same time, it's like, it makes sense. And that's also the part where like, there's never been a moment where we're like, it's so like, it's always, we find the humor in it, or we find what makes it like special to us. Yeah. But yeah. So if your significant others just start saying random things, they're probably tired.
I'm guilty as charged.
And mine is, I'm usually okay, but as soon as I get off the phone, I am like, like I'm, because I go into like, I'm going.
But all this to say, our question for you is, how have you known when you were ready to be in a relationship? Do you have to be fully healed? Do you know when you're healed? All that good stuff. So that's our question for you. Okay? And we're going to see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.